What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the T-Dub Show. New and improved and better than ever. Be sure to follow my social media platforms, Timothy T. Wilkes on Facebook, the T-Dub Show on YouTube, and Terrell Guided Me Wilkes on Instagram. And also to show your support, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, engage, and last but not least, enjoy the show. Okay, I wanted to start off fresh with a new series dealing with healing while in ministry. I posted the topic on Facebook because it's a very interesting concept because it's something that's important. It's something that's often overlooked because there are a lot of people that are in ministry, that are leaders in ministry, that are like pastors, evangelists, teachers, and apostolic, people that are over praise and worship, different areas like that, that are in ministry, but have poor mental health due to what could be trauma, could be just natural mental illness that they were probably born with. Either way, it has to be addressed especially if you're going to be responsible for other people's souls and things like that, because we're held accountable for how we treat and handle other people, and we can be, and our decisions can make or break people. It can cause people to fall astray. It can cause people to lose hope, because we're the front line of defense when it comes to God and His people. When it comes to how we treat His people, how we handle His people, serving His people, we're on the front lines. We're dealing with them directly, and we may be the only example of God that they see, because you have a lot of members, have a lot of people that don't really read the Bible, that don't really go into it like that, because they're trying to see what Christ is all about, what God's all about. And if their first witness to somebody that says they're from the Lord is some kind of mental illness or some kind of verbal abuse, some kind of trauma, it'll make them stray away. And I say this because there are a lot of people that do stray away, because you have people that are in the church, people that are leaders, that mishandle the saints, mishandle the sheep. That's why there are lessons that tell shepherds how to deal with the sheep. And even Christ Himself came down to demonstrate how to teach, how to lead, how to talk to people, how to serve the people, how to deal with people, how to rebuke, how to do all kinds of things. He healed people. He served the people, and He was kind. He was also bold in what He did, but He was also kind. He was also humble. He was also he was about God. He was about His Father's business. And there are a lot of problems in the church. There are a lot of problems with dealing with God's people, because there are a lot of leaders that have poor mental health. They're dysfunctional as human beings, and they don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to they mistake being disrespectful for rebuke. They mistake being that's why I say there's nothing wrong with rebuking. There's nothing wrong with maintaining order. There's a way to maintain order. There's a way to rebuke. There's a way to keep things and run a tight ship, as I would say. There's a way to do that without being verbally abusive, without being disrespectful, without talking down to people, without emasculating people, without telling people that they're not gonna be whatever it is, or you not of God, you not God, you Satan, and they might be giving all their time and energy to help you and serve you with all their heart. And that's very discouraging to hear from somebody that you're giving your all to, and you're giving your whole life and energy and time and energy to, for them to tell you that you're not God, you're not of God, and they're saying hurtful things to you and saying you're a failure, stuff like that. You have ministers that talk down to their saints. You have shepherds that mistreat their sheep and mishandle them because they're in poor mental health. All they have ever known growing up was verbal abuse. All they've ever known was trauma. That's all they've ever known, is talking down to somebody to get them to learn, to get them to see right. That's just leadership. No, it's not just leadership. That's abuse. A lot of leaders are abusing their saints. Because whenever I see things that's going on with the church, and people talk about the church and all this kind of stuff, God showed me these things. Because He shows me stuff. He shows me things in dreams. He shows me stuff in visions. He showed me that a lot of leaders are abusing their saints. They have a history of trauma, hurt, and pain, and they take it out on their saints because they're not completely healed. They're not completely in a place to where they need to be in order to healthily communicate. Just like you have domestic abuse, you have abuse in relationships. You can have abuse in when it comes to family, when it comes to peers, when it comes to things like that. And if you have that when it comes to those kind of things, it can most definitely take place in the church, in ministry, and things like that. And I can tell you that because I've received abuse in all these areas. Every area I've mentioned, I received abuse in every last one of these areas. And I must say it's not a pretty thing. But I'm just saying it's there. People, instead of encouraging each other as saints, as believers, I've seen it in praise teams. I've seen it actually in doing ministry. I've seen it working with other believers. They don't know how to talk to one another. They have the only thing they know the only thing they can spit out is hurt. Not saying that they're not saved, not saying that they're not godly, things like that. They're broken, they're hurt, and they're operating out of hurt, out of pain, out of bitterness. And the problem with that is you cause people that follow you, people that look up to you, people that are looking for answers from Christ, people that are looking for an example, a living example on this earth. They're looking to you for it, and only thing they see is the same things they've experienced in their own life. They see the same thing they've experienced in the world, which is more hurt, which is more pain, which is more judgment. The world already hates them. That's why they come to church. The world already has things against them. Their life is already crap. So they come to church to try to get their life right, to try to find Christ, to try to do whatever it takes, try to learn something about, okay, what is this God all about? I've tried everything else. I'm down. I want to see some kind of sign from God that He is either real or He can lead me or guide me. I want to try this and see what it's about. And when they go to the church, it's more abuse in there. It's more verbal abuse. It's more judgmental stuff. It's more gossip, more backbiting, all this trauma. It's just more hurt, And like I said, I'm not talking to the regular people in this one. I will get to the regular people in this series, because later on down the road I'm gonna explain how to deal with people in ministry, ministers, and things like that, leaders that are actually abusive, that are toxic, that are dysfunctional due to poor mental health. Because I'm going to point out the signs of when someone's in poor mental health. I'm going to help you learn in this series. I'm going to help you learn how to identify signs of poor mental health, dysfunction, toxicity, things like that. And that way, when you run into somebody like this, because sometimes God may send you to a leader that has these issues, but whenever God sends you somewhere, it's going to be to sharpen you. It's going to be to make you better. It's not going to be to try to tear you down, to break you, or destroy you. That's what the enemy wants to do when he sends you to certain places. He wants to take this and use it as a weapon to beat you over the head with it, to try to destroy you. But God is really using that as fire to make you, to mold you into what He wants you to be. You're like iron, you're like metal, and He's trying to mold you into what He wants you to be for His kingdom. So I'm going to explain it so you won't leave or give up on your assignment, or give up on where God has placed you, so you won't forfeit the things that He has for you in your future and your destiny. But the thing is, the reason, like I said, we can go back to what I was talking about, the reasons why this is important. You have to heal while you're in the ministry, and is because you have souls that are you're responsible for. You have people whose lives, whose souls are at stake, and they need they need a healthier version of you. They need to see someone that knows how to treat people. Like I say, the ministry I'm at now, this is the most healthiest environment I've ever been in my entire life. I've never met a group of people that actually advocate for healthy communication, for healthy, for therapy, for things that improve your mental health, for balance in your life, for life balance. Actually having, they advocate for this kind of stuff. So, because a lot of ministries overlook it, they sweep it under the rug. They don't really, they kind of sideswipe the mental health stuff. They think a lot of ministries they mistake. They try to substitute spirituality, your relationship with God, for mental health. So, because a lot of them say, if you have poor mental health, oh, just pray about it, baby. Just pray about it. You just need to fast and pray. That's the devil. That's Satan. You're wrong. First, I say you're wrong because the enemy can, although he does have an influence over people, he can influence, but that's all he can do. And if he had nothing there to influence, like your trauma, like your pain, like your hurt, like your anger, like your poor mental health, hello, if you were in a healthier place, he couldn't use those things. You couldn't blame Satan. That's why I always, on my podcast, on my shows, everything I do, I never blame the devil. If the devil does something, if he got through, okay, how did he get through? He used my anger. Whoa, I need to work on my anger. Okay, I preach this stuff all the time. This is how I teach. If he uses some trauma in your past, that's all triggers are. He just influenced something that may have happened in your childhood. If you forgave those people that caused you the trauma, that caused you the pain, the root to that is unforgiveness. You haven't yet to forgive those people, or you still suffering from that pain, you haven't dealt with those issues yet. So if you deal with those problems, you deal with those issues, you forgive those people, you forgive yourself, he can't use that anymore. You close the door. So although you're probably 20% right for blaming Satan, saying that's the devil, he only has the power to influence. He doesn't. Everything else is on you. It's your choices. It's your past. So he reveals so if he attacks you and reveals certain things, like your trauma, like all that stuff, you can, if you heal from that stuff and you seek professional help, we all need it. Let's stop pretending like it's not a thing. Let's stop pretending like you can pray about it. You can pray it away. Let's stop pretending you can just lay at the altar for hours and not be healed. And be healed, and you don't need to go to therapy. Let's just quit, okay? Let's stop, because you need it. We all need help mentally to get over things, to help learn how to forgive people, to learn how to communicate healthily, to learn how to manage our emotions in a healthier way, because the enemy uses those things against us if we don't know how to do it properly. If we don't know how to manage our emotions, he's going to use that to his advantage. He's going to use you to attack the saints, and they're going to be church hurt. Okay? I know I'm talking from experience. He's going to use you if you're in your brokenness, if you're operating out of your pain, if you're operating out of all this stuff, just like a lot of these pastors and ministers that sleep with members, that molest kids. They've probably been molested. They've probably dealt with all types of trauma, and they have yet to seek the proper help. They have poor mental health. That goes all in the same category. A lot of ministers that do these things, that are sleeping with these members and different things like that, that are doing all kinds of other activities, talking to people any kind of way, mishandling people, talking to them and just discarding them, emasculating. When they don't perform up to standard, you verbally abuse them. It's not how it goes. That's not the way it works. Now, if you're dissatisfied, there's ways you can go about dealing with it. There's consequences you can apply. Just like when you're on a job, you have business rules, you have company policies and things like that. There can be some things, some foundational rules and regulations that could be set in the church as well. However, but verbal abuse and talking down and even is going as far as manipulating people for your benefit to basically threaten, like in a way, blackmailing or threatening them, saying, God, you're going to go to hell if you don't use your gift right now. But you know in your heart, you know they're not ready. They're probably not ready because they've dealt with some other things. They're not ready to step out there yet. But you threaten them with going to hell and things like that, holding things over their head like that. God's gonna curse you, and you're not doing those. That kind of stuff is not. It's just like how people say that God. It's similar to how people say God hates you because you're sinning. That's abuse. I'm sorry. It's threatening. It's not how you get people to come to God. And that's why the LGBT community is running so rampant, because you've had in the past there have been quote unquote Christians going around saying that God hates you, you're going to hell, you calling them names, telling them that they're just hellbound, condemning them to hell, when we have no place as human beings to condemn anybody, because we don't have a hell or heaven to put anybody in. It's okay to disagree with what people do. It's okay to disagree with someone else's lifestyle, but we do not have the right or the authority to condemn, to say someone's going to hell, to say someone that you're hated, that you're terrible, that you're a horrible person, that you're a monster. We don't have those we can't say those things. We're taking out our own hatred, our own hurt, our own pain out on other people, and it has to stop. That's what's going on in the church. That's why healing while in ministry is important, because you have people, pastors, first ladies, ministers, evangelists, people like this, fivefold, praise and worship leaders, musicians. They do things, leaders in the church, doing things to hurt people out of their own hurt, out of their own mental illness, out of their own poor mental health, because they fail to manage their mental health, because they fail to realize that self-care, mental, and a healthy mind is just as important as spirituality, if not more important, because the enemy attacks your mind. Because the Bible always tells you how to think. Think not on these things. When you repent, it's basically a renewance of your mind. That's basically all it is. You're changing the way you think. So whenever you're trying, there are several scriptures. I can go on and on about how God tells you how to think, how to manage your emotions, how all this kind of stuff. He constantly tells you to have a sound mind. That's why he said he gives you love, power, sound mind. He doesn't give you a spirit of fear. That's another way to think. Is to be sober minded. To be he says to be sober minded, and because the devil goes through the forest as a lion, seeking who he may devour. That's another one. He has to be sober minded. You have to have. He's telling you to have control over to not be shrouded in anxieties and different. To be emotionally, to have control over your emotions. To be in a healthy place emotionally. So if you're all over the place emotionally, you're in an unhealthy place emotionally, you can't manage your emotions, the enemy is going to use you and use you up and use you and use you and use you. He's going to get you to keep doing irrational things to hurt people. And because the things we do, everything we do has an effect on someone. It doesn't just affect you. If you're a pastor and you do things that hurt I mean, that you make irrational decisions. It doesn't just affect you. It affects your wife. It affects your kids. It affects the church, the congregation. Just let's say you get caught in adultery and you're a pastor. Just using an example. It not only affects you, it affects your members. It affects the church. The whole church now is under fire. The family is under fire. Your kids, you see, especially if they're going to school and you're known in the community. Now your kids have to deal with that at school. Your wife is probably embarrassed, probably hurt. Your church members, people that had faith in you, people that looked up to you. It affects everyone connected to you. Same way with that. Same way with if you're emotionally unstable. If you have poor management of your emotions. If you're dealing with if you have traumas and different things like that you've yet to deal with, and you take those pains and triggers and all of that hurt out on your members, it affects all of them. It affects your family. It affects the same way. It affects everyone around you. It's not just you. That's why healing while in ministry is important. All of this is important because it affects all of this. It decides whether people come to Christ or turn away. I'm not saying I'm not saying people should turn away from God because a leader treats them wrong. But I'm not saying that's the way it's supposed to be. But that's the way it happens. It happens a lot. A lot of things. A lot of people turn away from church. A lot of people turn away from God because of how they were treated at church, because of how they were treated by their leader, because of how they were treated by their mentors, people that looked up. Because a lot of people see the pastor as a mentor, as a spiritual father, as a leader. They think highly of them. Then when they're mistreated, not even just with pastors, with people that they trusted in the church, they found they when they've been wronged through, because that person is unhealthy, that person is dysfunctional, that person is very toxic to be around. Oh, this person's good, they're a leader, they're high up. I want to learn from them, get close to them. Then you find out they're dysfunctional and toxic, and they say hurtful things when they're angry, or when they feel like you're not up to standard. They bash you and trash you and talk down to you, emasculate you, and verbally abuse you the same way your parents did, but you thinking, or whoever in your family did. Let's say you grew up with trauma. Let's say you grew up with some kind of thing going on, and it kind of messed you up. And you go to church and thinking it's going to get better, and you run into more of the same. It can discourage a person, especially if they're already wavering in their faith. Okay, so we have to be careful. And like I say this from experience, because even in my brokenness, my hurt, my pain, I've made a lot of irrational decisions that hurt and have caused a lot of people to be broken, to be hurt, to be in pain. I'm saying these things out of experience. It's our job as leaders and ministers, as whatever, if we're called to the faith, it's our responsibility also not only to be continually feeding our spirit, but we have to maintain a good mental health. We have to maintain that. We have to constantly seek that healing. We have to constantly seek. That's why forgiveness is so important. God tells people to forgive. It's not for he's not doing that for his health. He's not doing that because there's reasons why God wants us to do certain things. Because if you have unforgiveness, as long as you have unforgiveness, the enemy can use that as a tool. He can use that as because with unforgiveness, it comes with trauma. It comes with the depression. It comes with the anxiety. It comes with those triggers. It comes with bitterness. It comes with all of these things that stem from fear. And he does not give us that spirit of fear. It stems from fear. All those triggers you have, it stems from unforgiveness. You have not forgiven those people. You've not forgiven yourself. It comes from unforgiveness. Anytime you have trauma from your past, I'm not saying it's easy to forgive. That's why I always say this, my motto. If you're not able to do it by yourself, hire somebody. The same thing that goes with getting over your past, getting over certain relationships. People are like, well, I don't know if I want to pay that much for therapy. That's the wrong mindset to have. It's an investment. You're investing in your mental health. It's not just you're paying for therapy. You're investing in your mental health. When we start using the right things, just like with physical health, I don't want to pay for a gym membership. You're investing in your health. I'm investing in my health. I do have a gym membership. I'm investing in my health. I get up and go to the gym as many times a week as I need to. I'm making an investment in my mental health. That's what motivates me to get up and go to the gym at 5, 6 in the morning, because it's an investment. That's why I go to work every day and do what I do. I'm investing. It's an investment. Always look at something, anytime you're trying to improve yourself, always look at it as an investment. Otherwise, hey, it's going to throw you off. You're not going to have the discipline. Because when you're investing, you're sowing a seed. It's like you planting crops in the ground. You're investing. You're sowing that seed. It's like when you're playing stock market, things like that. You're investing in your future. You're going to a therapist. You're having a support system. You're investing in your future. Anytime you invest, it's for the future. You put something aside now to take care of the future. When you work out in the gym, you're exercising now, but it's a certain type of body you want. It's a certain type of health you're trying to get to. It's a certain level you're trying to get to physically. You're investing in your future. It's like with education. You're investing in your future. You can't get a doctorate degree overnight. You can't get a master's overnight. You're investing in your future, but you will have it in 2 years. You will have it in 4 years. You will have it however long whatever time frame you have. If you put in that type of work, you're investing in your future. That's what mental health is. But that's the reason why we have to do that as saints, because we have to, especially leaders. It's important because people are dependent on us. People are, that's why a lot of people say we're not real, we're fake, or whatever now. That's why a lot of people question the Bible, start questioning God, start questioning ministry. I'm not justifying what they're saying and doing. I'm not justifying it by any means. But if we actually slowed down, took care of our mental health, and taught people, and instructed people, and led them and guided them, did it in a healthy way, did it in a non-judgmental way, did it in a way that we use righteous judgment. As let's say you see somebody doing something, say they're drinking, say they're alcoholic, instead of looking at the actual alcoholism itself, you look at what caused the alcohol addiction. Let's say if they've been hurt, let's say if they're going through a divorce, they're going through a hard time. That's the root of the problem. That's why he says lay the axe to the root. What's the root of it? What's the root of the issue? Not the surface. Why are they cussing so much? Why are they doing this? Maybe because they have trauma. Maybe it's because they're hurting. Maybe it's because they've dealt with a lot of pain. Maybe it's because they're enduring and going through so much, and they can't handle their minds going crazy, spinning around, and they just have to. They just do certain things. It's like friends. I always use this one. Well, people always say try to judge strippers and people like that. You just need to stop stripping. You just need to start. Okay, let's say she didn't have any education. Let's say she didn't have any real opportunities in life. Let's say she doesn't have anything really just really came her way, and she wasn't taught much. Probably growing up, she probably had unfortunate childhood, maybe been molested, abused, or one parent was a junkie, things like that. People grow up in certain situations. You'd be surprised what you see people go through in their childhoods and their life, and they weren't given the opportunity to receive the educated, the knowledge, the wisdom that you have to do better. They didn't receive the opportunities, and they have limited knowledge, limited wisdom, limited understanding about life. And they have kids to feed because they weren't taught really safe sex or how to avoid having kids. They weren't taught abstinence. They weren't taught any of that kind of stuff. They have kids they have to take care of. No food in the refrigerator. And they have bills. No real life skills because they weren't taught, again. So telling them to not do the very thing, that's the only thing they know they can do to pay bills and feed their kids. You telling them not to do it. I'm not saying what they're doing is right and it should be justified. I'm not saying that. No. But what I'm saying is them being a stripper, them doing it, that's not the root of the problem. Oh, they're sinning, they're going to hell. No, that's not the root. The root is they don't know any other way to provide for their child. If you help them, if there are resources out there, if you point them to the right resources, to the right places where, hey, you can get a free education, or you can get an education, or you could work for me, and if you're in a position to give people jobs, things like that. Because a lot of ministers are business people. Let's just be real. A lot of people that are over ministries, they're business people. Instead of saying she's going to hell, how about you give her a job if you have a business? How about you give her opportunity? How about you point her in the right direction where she can get an education? If you care so much about it, I'm not saying everybody should do this. I'm saying if you have so much passion about it where you want to judge a person, where you want to say, oh, you're going to hell, you're doing all this. If you care so much about what they're doing, why don't you point them in the right direction? Why don't you lay the axe to the root and help them? If you take away the reasoning to do it, if they had a good job, do you think they'd be stripping? No, especially if they had kids. If they had an education, they knew better. They've had a new education opportunity. They saw they could actually live a better life, make more money, and do more. They could go start a business and make way more money than they made stripping, and then still live for the Lord and enjoy and have a good life in balance. Think they still be stripping? No, probably not. Okay, it's just, that's all I'm saying. You lay the axe to the root. It's not and that can go for a lot of many different examples in life. Let's just say someone is is dealing with same-sex attractions and stuff. Let's just say the root of the problem is they were molested as a child. And so if they're molested, that's trauma. Some of them don't have that reason, but I'm just using this as an example. If they're instead of saying, oh, you're going to hell because you're gay and God hates you, no, that's just that. How about we deal with the trauma of the aspect? How about we deal with that part? How about we deal with the fact that they were molested? Let's help them forgive this person that molested them. Let's get that spirit off of them that was transferred into them as a child. Let's just get the spirit of fear out of their mind and thinking that they'll never be able to trust a man or a woman again, because the only man or woman they've ever been able to, they thought they could trust, crushed them so deeply to the point of almost no return. And it'll take professional help and the hands of God to take them out of that stronghold. Let's deal with the root. Lay the axe to the root. That's why I say that. That's just what I said. But anyway, if we focus on our mental health as leaders, as whatever your title is, even if you're just a preacher in the gospel, no matter what you're doing, if you're serving God's people, anytime we're serving God's people, our mental health, our healing is very important to us. It is. It's part of our testimony. It's very important. It's also it's part of our testimony. One, it releases us from bondage, from Satan. How can we call ourselves serving people, saying that God is good, saying that He's a deliverer, He's a healer, but we're still in bondage? How much sense does that make to you? If you're saying that God is a healer, but you're still broken, how do you know? If you're saying that He's a deliverer, but you're still in what you're in, you're still in your mess, how would you know? How do you know? If until you seek the healing, till you have that help and heal, you will never know. You won't be able, you can say it, you can act like it and pretend, but when you actually reach that point of healing, when you actually reach that point where God delivers you out of certain strongholds, certain situations, certain bondage, when He delivers you out of brokenness, when He delivers you out of unforgiveness, when He delivers you out of these things, You can boldly, you can confess it. You shout it from the mountaintops. You can shout it with all joy in your heart. You can confess it. God is a healer. I know because He healed me. He brought me out of this. He healed me from XYZ. I know He's a healer. I know what He can do. You can say it with tears in your eyes. You can say it with a big smile on your face. You know because you dealt with it. You experienced Him healing you. Which one's more convincing? God is a healer. God is a redeemer. God is a healer. He healed me from my depression. I suffered with depression 20, 30 years. He healed me from it. I suffered from brokenness. I had a divorce. I almost gave up. I almost died. I was an alcoholic, but He delivered me out of all of that. I had dealt with all of that. I was going to give up. I had dealt with this, and this, but God, He healed me. I had to put in some work. Yes, I had to cry out before Him. Yes, I had to seek professional help. Yes, I had to do XYZ, but He brought me out, and it feels so good. I'm at peace. Which one's more convincing, the first one or the second one? I'm just saying here. Just saying. That's why healing is important. It's part of your testimony, one. Because everyone needs a testimony. If you're in ministry, you have to have a testimony. Because people have to have a reason. Because everyone's dealing with something and they want to know what He did for you. They want to know, they want to see. Okay, He did this for me. Okay, this person is in ministry. They went through the same thing I went through, and He brought them out of it. That means that I have a chance. And also, it helps you to how to treat other people that are following you, that are looking up to you. It shows you how to treat people. You'll be able to, when you have a healthier mindset, you'll be able to treat people properly. You'll be able to better treat people. It shows you how to treat people. Healthier mindset. So you'll be a living testimony. And that's the most important thing. Your life, they have to see you live it. They have to see you walk it out. And the fact that you're seeking healing, the fact that you're going through the steps, and they see you gradually becoming a better person, gradually becoming a healthier person, gradually becoming nicer, kinder. And guess what having a healthy mindset is? Guess what it helps you obtain? It helps you obtain the fruits of the Spirit, the kindness, the meekness, the long-suffering, all of those things. It helps your mind get in alignment with the principles of Christ, the principles of God that God wants you to do anyway. Because you have a lot of ministers that shun therapy, but therapy helps you get your mind in it helps you line your mind up. Having a better mindset, it helps you because God wants you to have a better mindset. He wants you to be healed. He wants your mind to be healthy. Because that's what controls everything that you do. So if your mind's unhealthy, you're going to make unhealthy decisions. You're going to make irrational choices. You're going to date crazy, toxic, dysfunctional people. You're going to be impulsive because your mind is unhealthy. So it's going to do things. It's grasping for straws because it's reaching out for help. But the thing is, you can't. That's not the way to do it if you're in poor mental health, if you're broken, because it says be sober minded. The enemy is looking for someone to devour, and it's going to be you if you're not healthy, if you're not mentally healthy, if you're not in alignment. He's going to use you. He's going to devour you, and he's going to. In a lot of instances, like I said, he's going to use you, and you're going to take your pain and your misery and your suffering out on your followers, on your saints, on people that look up to you, and you're going to turn a lot of people away from God. And God's going to hold you accountable for how you handle your followers, how you handle the people of God, how you handle His people. He's going to hold you accountable. So the more healing, the better healthy mindset, the less accountability you're going to have for mishandling people. Okay? So all this is important. This is I was just naming the reasons why healing in ministry is important. One, for the better for you, so you can have a better testimony, and two, so you'll learn how to treat people. You'll be able to treat people better. You'll be able to give people the love of God. You'll be able to show people. You'll be able to be the demonstration that Christ showed when he was on earth. He was kind. He was because his mind was stable. He had a healthy mind. We'll be able to show that to people. We'll be loving. We'll be patient. We won't be talking to them and yelling at them, talking to them crazy, talking about you got the Holy Ghost, when all they see is meanness and anger and bitterness. That's not the fruits of the Spirit. That's not spiritual. That's not the Holy Ghost. That's fear. Bitterness is fear. Anger is fear. Trauma is fear. Holding on, unforgiveness, all that is fear. He don't give us the spirit of what? I'm making y'all mad. Y'all don't like me, probably not. Probably right. Y'all probably don't like me right now. Y'all might not like me in this series, but I have to expose these things because the enemy is busy. He's been busy, and he's been doing this for years, and I gotta expose it because it's time. It's time. It's time out for all this stuff. It's time out for unhealthy, dysfunctional relationships in the home, unhealthy, dysfunctional relationships with family, unhealthy, dysfunctional relationships with friends and peers, and unhealthy, dysfunctional relationships in the church. It's time out for all of this. It's time because the times that we're going to be dealing with. If you hadn't heard the news or seen anything, if you hadn't heard about the recession, if you hadn't heard about the hard times, everyone's going to need each other more than before. So it's time. It's going to be time for that whole community aspect that we used to have. It's time to bring it back. It's going to be time to bring it back. We're all going to need each other. If we're all dysfunctional and talking to each other crazy and emasculating and just saying crazy things, no. We need God's people to come together, to treat each other better, to seek healing. All these things have to take place. Otherwise, we're not going to thrive. We're not going to make it like we should, because we're going to be only half as efficient without those healthy relationships. I don't care who you are. You need somebody. Anyone that says, I don't need this and I don't need that, I don't need nobody, that's hurt. That's anger. That's fear. That's fear. All of it is fear. It's all fear. It's all hurt. It's all anger. It's all your thoughts based off the trauma that you've dealt with. And that's what it is. I'm sorry. You may feel like you're being rebuked. You probably are. If you're offended by this, you're being rebuked. Because, we have to come out of that. It's and the reason why I'm doing this is because we're headed down a destructive path. The church is headed down a destructive path. A lot of ministers have mental health issues. They need healing. They need help in that area. Spirituality is not a substitute for therapy. Reading your Bible is not a substitute for therapy. Praying is not a substitute for therapy. Fasting is not a substitute for therapy. Talking to God is not a substitute for therapy. Preaching is not a substitute for therapy. Singing and worship and all that kind of stuff, it's all good, it's great, it's phenomenal for the spirit, but it's not a substitute for therapy. But that's my time. If you live for God, believe in what He says, He's going to take you a mighty long way. And I love you guys with the love of the Lord. Stay tuned for part 2. Should be coming out with it later this week. Next week, I'm gonna help you identify, help people of God, even people that may be listening outside of that, how to identify when you need healing, signs of trauma, signs of the fact that you need professional help, things like that. I'm gonna help you identify those signs. I'm gonna help you. Because we need it. We need to have healing for ourselves, and we also need to be able to recognize when someone else needs healing. That way we won't judge them poorly. We don't just judge them and say, oh, they're not God, they're not of God, or they're horrible people. You won't judge, and you'll be like, okay, they're hurting. They're in a place of pain. They're in a place of, it'll make sense when it comes together. Just bear with me. Just stick with me. Ride this thing with me, and Yeah, we'll get there. But next one is going to be signs. I'm going to help you identify the signs. Then it's going to be the part 3, where I'm going to show you the process that it will take. It might be different for others, but I'm going to show you the process that I took, the road that I had to go down to seek healing, to seek help, to get the closers, and it's going to be, that one's going to be phenomenal. And then I'm going to, the part 4, I'm going to show you how to identify when a leader or when a fellow leader is dealing in poor mental health. They need healing, things like that. It's gonna be great. Y'all check me out on Spotify, on Anchor. I'm gonna be posting this on Facebook, on YouTube. Yeah, I'm excited. So I appreciate your support. I love you guys with the love of the Lord. Peace out.